Speaker, in reading a children's book over the Christmas holidays, I came across a fantastic quote. "It's our choices, Harry, that show who we really are, more than our abilities. It's our choices that show who we really are." Well, this government has made the choice to invest in education. We will not tolerate 1 in 5 children leaving school unable to read or write or do maths anywhere near the level that they need to succeed, both as individuals but also in employment, as the previous Labor government did for 9 long years. The 2009 PISA results that were released before Christmas showed that our top 5% of students are up with the best in the world. As a matter of fact, they showed that our top 25% of students are up with the best of the world. But the gap between our top 5% and our bottom 5% is the worst of the top performing countries, and the gap between our top 25% and our bottom 25% is also the worst of those top performing countries. Reading achievements of our 15-year-olds has remained unchanged for 10 years, maths unchanged for 6. Now, there is no doubt that we have a very good education system, but this John Key-led national government has made the choice to ensure that it becomes a great education system. We can only do that by addressing the needs of those children who are being failed by the system and who have been failed consistently by the previous Labor government. The 1 in 5 kids who don't learn to read and write and do maths. The 50% of young Māori who leave school without even NCA level 2, and the 37% of Pacifica children who also leave without that same qualification, the very qualification we know is the minimum that they need out in the wide world if they want to go on to further training, they want to become an apprentice or go on to further employment. This government, under John Key, has said that that is simply not good enough. We've made the choice to make changes. Now, the Labor government actually knew it needed to make some changes, and I refer to comments from the Labor education spokesman Trevor Mallard in 1998, who said that a national system of benchmark testing was needed so principals and teachers could significantly raise standards in schools and help New Zealand to regain its status as a world leader in education. And in 2000, that same person, who was then minister, said, "This government is going to make a difference. We want high standards, not low standards. We want tests that occur week by week and are reported to parents regularly rather than the 4-year approaches taken by the previous government." This sounds familiar. It sounds familiar. So what happened? Well, they backed down. They backed down. They made the choice to kowtow to their union mates instead of toughing it out for the sake of the kids. They made the choice instead to put quite a lot of money into a program for just a few schools. It was a very effective program, but it was so expensive there was just no way that it could ever reach enough schools to truly make a difference. Well, this government has made the choice to introduce national standards in reading, writing and maths to get system-wide change so that children right across New Zealand will benefit. And amongst my Christmas correspondence were a couple of comments from principals. One says, "We've been working with staff on moderation of writing for the last 3 years and used that experience to provide guidance for staff in all 3 standards. It was still a challenge for some, but we do need to move out of our comfort zone to raise the standards of teaching." Fabulous principal. Another one said, "We've reported against the national standards twice this year, and the achievement of students in the second part of the year was exponential and amazing, almost unbelievable. These benchmarks actually focus teachers on deliberate and targeted teaching, which leads to improvement." Mr. Speaker, as the economic crisis bit hard on our community, this government made the choice to stop funding middle-class adults to learn Moroccan cooking, gardening in the wind, wine tasting and the like, and instead we funded places for the growing number of disengaged youth. 2,000 youth guarantee places last year provided at tertiary institutions around the country, and we added another 500 this year. In fact, it's almost 700. These provide school-level qualifications for young people in a tertiary setting. They do include some pastoral support, and we are seeing some great results, re-engaging young people for whom school seemed irrelevant. The government made the choice to go out to the education sector for ideas to provide better training opportunities for those kids who work better when they're working practically with their hands, making something. We call them trades academies. We promised 5, but we made the choice to fund 8 opening this year and another 4 lined up to open next year. And they bring the resources and the expertise of schools, tertiary institutions, industry training and workplace together to meet the needs of students, not the system, the students. Finally, Mr. Speaker, this government made the choice to address behaviour and truancy. You can't learn if you're queued up most of the day outside the principal's office or if you're wagging downtown. The Positive Behaviour for Learning Action Plan, designed and overseen by the education sector themselves, was originally $45 million, but in the last budget I added another $15 million into that, focuses on a few effective programs that work with parents, teachers and schools. 119 programs for parents currently running around the country. Almost 2,000 parents will take part this year. We're targeting 7,000 teachers, a third of them from the early childhood sector, and almost 200 schools are currently participating in the school-wide training. Truancy? Well, this government made the choice to face the problem. The first thing we did was reinstate the survey that the previous Labor government had cancelled because they didn't want to know. They didn't want to know. And what did we find? 30,000 kids missing on any one day from school. 30,000. That's the population of my hometown, Gisborne. For goodness sake, you can't learn if you're not at school. So this government made the choice to double the funding to fight truancy. We're building capacity in schools to track and monitor students. We've funded a determined reduction in the number of kids that are completely disengaged from school, and we're working to get them back into the system. We're trialling several initiatives around the country and evaluating their results, working closely with the sector and social services to build our knowledge of what actually works. And we gave the district truancy services a pay rise, and I think that's the first one that they've had since Labor came into power 10 long years ago. We've also started to lift the quality of alternative education to get better results for students. They got extra money for the first time in 9 years. So we will work. This government will work with the education sector, the unions, business, the community, anybody who's interested in getting better results for kids to make our education system great. And Dumbledore, from whom I quoted at the beginning, he was right, because it is our choices that show who we are, who we really are. And this John Key-led government's choice is to get better results for kids.